Well, welcome back to the late day wrap up, of which we have plenty to discuss today, following up on the short term, medium term timeframes for Bitcoin, also a little bit of high term timeframe analysis as well, and checking out all the major markets, maybe even adding a couple more to our major list here, and of course starting off with Dixie. And this is going to be a very special stream because I am on a race against time right now. I just started up all my beef and pork on the stove, so hopefully it doesn't get burned before the end of the stream, because actually I fucking hate burnt meat. Anyways, with that said, starting off with Dixie, I want to say that, or at least I want to follow up on the last 3 months of price action here, of which we did see this nice low actually get that final continuation as of last week, end of last week. More importantly, hitting our targets about $2.5, of which now coming back down as the typing in the background intensifies. And more importantly, I would be looking for this one to have a little bit more downside. However, within the context of what we have seen on the macro lows on this asset, that being Dixie, we have not really seen these just be one and dones. And what I mean by that is just one singular splurt up and then back down to retrace the whole damn rally. No, on all these macro lows, of which they have in the annals of history here been about 3 months or more, have all been, some pretty respectable reversals. So more importantly, while I am looking for a little bit of short-term downside right here, do not confuse short-term downside with long-term reversal. I'm actually looking for this to likely give another try to the upside based upon a few other major things. But first things first, go down to the daily. You can infer this as a rejection of the 200 simple and 200 exponential average for right now, and I would be looking for this one to likely trade back down a little bit below $92. However, I would still be looking at this as very likely to try another move higher. And again, what have we been looking at for the past 3 months? Well, this is very much in line with what we have seen historically speaking as a macro low. Going back to 2018, we see this one taking about 3 months as well. Boom, massive move to the upside. Pretty much, this one actually really having no pullbacks the whole damn way up. This one over here back in 2011 on this macro low, same sort of thing. Although this one did have a bit of a fake out coming back down, but more importantly, for the totality of that rally, it obviously did get a continuation. That was that was simply just a hunt. Plus, major upside included after that for basically the next, well, actually 4 or 5 years till 2015, 2016. Before that, we see the 08 macro low right here. Same sort of thing, just straight to the moon for the next about year or so. And if we go back to even 95 or 90 on these macro lows, very, very similar signature there as well. So while I do think it does have a little bit of short-term downside, of which we are kind of playing that out right now, as we did speak about yesterday, was likely on that pullback from 92.5. I would be looking for bounces anywhere just below $92, maybe even all the way back down to 91.5. But ultimately, I would be looking for this one to continue and try to the upside, which is going to put downside pressure on price action. But for right now, on most major assets that trade versus the dollar, obviously. But for right now, we do see that this is obviously having a little bit of downside, and I would be looking for this one to test a little bit further down, which is going to provide a little bit of upside pressure on major assets that trade versus the US dollar. Now, of course, when we are talking about Dixie, we are talking about, well, Dixie, which is the dollar's relationship to a basket of other fiat currencies, which doesn't necessarily mean that, it's the same thing as like the dollar versus, like a stock, for example. That's a little bit of a different thing. So for all the questions that I get about can we possibly see Dixie and SPY rally or Dixie and Bitcoin rally at the same time? Well, yeah, we've seen that plenty of times in the past. I can give you this right here from the time of, this one actually really stands out right here from 2014 all the way to 2016. This was just a mega straight up rally. I'd even say that this really started back over in 2011. And if we go over here to SPY, which I don't have in these charts right here, we can just use NASDAQ as well. Same thing. Well, what do you know? Straight fucking up the whole goddamn way through as well. So with all of that in mind, it is obviously going to make it a lot more difficult for the weaker, the laggards of the market to keep up. But for the strong, they typically will prevail. And in this case, it's not necessarily a death sentence in the way that I think a lot of people think it will. But on those downside moves, I would be looking for extra upside pressure on especially more of the strong assets that we have been looking at, especially for the last almost 3 years, as it is almost a 3-year anniversary of this channel. By the way, because it is a 3-year anniversary of this channel, we'll have a bit of a discount sale going on. So hold off for a few more days here. I think it's like 4 or 5 days away. Starting next week. Yeah, we'll just say that starting next week. I believe it's March 15th. So there we go. Anyways, we'll talk about that more later. Anyway, I want to get through this analysis right here. So we'll go on over into traditional markets. Start off with NASDAQ, of which NASDAQ having that big bounce. Wow, actually really impressive bounce. Very similar to what we spoke about on this morning's video. I did say, hey, look, this daily right here is really questionable. Why did I say that? Because we saw that E-mini futures for SPY and also Dow Jones Industrials were looking pretty fucking good. And at the end of the day, we are in a rotational market right now, and Dow Jones kind of taking the lead, SPY taking second pole position, and now NASDAQ kind of following through with that. And that did kind of provide the bias as this likely put in a low on our shorter term timeframes, of which we did see right here on that 3 drives bottom, plus 3 drives on bullish divergence right here as well. Good, awesome, excellent response thus far on price action, and hitting up to the 200 simple and 200 exponential average, of which I would be looking for a short-term pullback from here, maybe back down to like 12.6 or 12.650, something like that, plus likely another upside move implied over the next few days within this week. I would not be surprised at all to see NASDAQ back above even 13,100 to 13,200 probably before the end of the week, and I would be looking for the next major test into about actually 13,000, 13,000 even, or right around the 21 exponential average. If NASDAQ gets back above the 21 exponential average on the daily, I'd be looking at this as a very bullish signal for very likely retesting into the mid $13,000 region, like 13.5, and very likely follows in Dow Jones footsteps here and retests the prior all-time high and probably makes new all-time highs. We'd also see momentum oscillators very likely turn up northwards as well, as we do see it kind of hitting into this trend line coming in from March 2020. I guess I already have it in there right there, as we do see it's more of a regression getting the lows in September 2020, and then of course October 2020, and then once again in March 2021. So this is going for a nice year long or so of history. And then on top of that, we do see a bit of a rejection of the bearish control zone on the daily RSI right here as well, getting back above the exponential. And again, long term, I do still like this read. So ultimately, do I think that we've kind of seen the lows? Last week I was looking a little bit lower than this, 12,150. We got down to 12,200. Close enough is close enough at the end of the day. $50 at that price point is really not going to register. So I would say yes, as we did it in a 5 couple days ago. Anyways, moving on to SPY futures. Up only is the direction. And what do we say on this morning's video? Very likely another move back up to about 3,900. Looks like that's in progress right now. Even some late hidden bullish evidence about to be signaled off of this low right here. I'd say that's more or less a formality, especially taking out yesterday's high. I'd say this is very likely to continue back up, not just to 3,900, but probably like 3,930 to 3,950, basically the prior all-time high, and probably make new all-time highs. Hey, what's this? Is this a trend? Yes. Is this an upside trend? Is that a higher low? And is that higher highs all the way fucking through? That is crazy now, isn't it? Looking at the momentum oscillators here as well, we do see that daily SOX also rejecting the bearish control zone and back up, looking good there as well. So all of that following through, and then of course we'll go to the main one to be watching right now, which is Dow Jones making new all-time highs upon new all-time highs upon new all-time highs. And what do you know? This one really being the canary in the coal mine as of the last couple of days, setting that higher low before the other two, and then more importantly, momentum oscillators turning back up as well, rejecting the bearish control zone. Same thing on daily RSI right here as well. This one looks to be the one to be watching right now, as it is leading the market, and this is a rotational market. So while Dow Jones is leading right now, at some point, it'll put in this little pullback, and then we'll probably see like NASDAQ or SPY take on over. Now I want to bring another one into the mix here. I typically do have RUT right here, but I will look at IWM. So IWM is essentially like Russell 2000. And this kind of represents the mid caps of the stock market. And what do we see right here? Just getting a broader view of the general market, we see the exact same thing, but this one's a little bit more obvious, having the hidden bullish divergence already confirmed on the daily low, on not just last daily low, but the low before that. And then on top of that, momentum also is turning back up as well, rejecting the bearish control zone. I'd be looking for this one to pop back up towards about 227.5 to maybe even probably the prior all-time high, and probably new all-time highs if I had to guess, as we do see that kind of just portrayed across all major markets. So we do see that the broad market is looking more or less healthy right now, and we are just seeing rotations going on as NASDAQ puts in what appears to be another higher low. So I would be looking at that as boding well for just generally the market, and Bitcoin as well, as it kind of is included within the text there. So with that in mind, let's go check out gold. Where's my Goldilocks? I think we were looking for a bounce off of the 1680-ish level last we spoke, and what do you fucking know? What do you fucking know? It's almost as if that TA bullshit, that TA hocus pocus, every once in a while, every once in a blue moon, it might even work just as well as astrology. But looking at it right here, yeah, we are getting that bounce right now. I do think that this bounce could get going a little bit more. It really wouldn't take too much to get this baby back up towards like 1730 to 1750-ish region. But here's the thing. We do have a daily death cross going on right here, and I would be looking for that to ultimately be sold into. But is this one due for a relief bounce, a little bit more than what we've looking at right now? I do happen to think so, yes. We do see that daily momentum oscillators are trying to point back up north. Do we see any sort of a long running trend line here? We actually do not, so that is a bit concerning, as 2 times does not make a trend, obviously. And then we do see that daily RSI is actually looking pretty nasty over the long term. Compare this to what we looked at on like the major indices, right? Long term, they had very constructive reads on your higher term time frame RSIs. This one would be the opposite. This is very distributive, especially going all the way from this area right here. that does look pretty nasty, to be honest with you. So what's going on in gold? Not so sure, but I would be looking for a short-term, medium-term bounce, which does turn into long-term continuation most likely. I mean, even on the short-term time frames right here, well, to be fair, we actually do have a few things, good things going on. 4-hour bullish divergence, 1, 2, 3, 4 stabs, nice one there. Also 4-hour jewel, given a bit of a long signal, actually on the low. It looks like. Did this one get the low? Yeah, it did get. Oh no, it didn't get the low. It got this one right here, which actually did get a nice move, but this one was the real one, and actually that one gave a signal right on this dildo right here at about 1685. So I do like that, and I would be looking for maybe a short-term pullback from this region, but ultimately I do think that we've seen the low for now, not for eternity, but I do think that we've seen the low for now. Probably trades a little bit short-term back to the downside, and then I'd be looking for a greater rally over the next couple weeks. Maybe it even takes a month or two back up into the mid to low 1700s region, like 1730 to 1750s region. That's where I do think that we might see another higher term time frame lower high being put in, but for now, very, very likely does bounce off this ION 89 exponential average on the weekly. We don't see it. It really wouldn't take too much to get the weekly stows getting going as well. And by the way, we do have this trend line coming in right here, which we actually will be officially testing literally this week. So we would expect to see that have a bit of reaction. So if that does play out, we could maybe even extend targets. Actually, we could extend targets a lot more, not just to 1750, but maybe even 1800 if that were to happen. But again, ultimately, I would express long-term concern on this one, as it's not really joining in with the rest of the world, just rallying to the fucking moon and beyond. So I would be looking, I actually would be looking for more upside here, to be fair. Really wouldn't take too much to get this baby back up to 1800, but I would be on lower high watch anywhere around 1800 to maybe even 1850, probably the next month or two, and then we'll see if we get another continuation drive to the downside with targets probably implied maybe down to 1500 or below. But first things first, let it bounce, and then maybe even turns into a macro reversal. But for now, a little bit of upside, as this one's been beaten up quite a fair bit. So I do think that it's due for a little bit of a rally. By the way, not monthly, but weekly jewel did get the continuation drive right here, and that was one of the major keys right around 1860s region. Not bad. Anyways, moving on to, is it Bitcoin time? I think it's Bitcoin time. All right, let's go check out some Bitcoin action. And is my meat getting... I think it's getting ready. Ooh, it's gonna be oh so good, man. It's gonna be oh so fucking good. Okay, so a couple things that I want to speak about on Bitcoin, because while I did mention them on this morning's video, I do want to kind of recover them. So, okay, one of the big things that I've been looking at on Bitcoin for this past since March started essentially, was the monthly Bollinger Band signature, of which we've always throughout the 11-year history of Bitcoin always tested the topside Bollinger Band after closing above the topside Bollinger Band to open up a new month. So what does that mean? Essentially, you close above the topside right here, then you come back down the next month, test the top side quite literally. Now, this can happen one of two ways. You either literally come down to that level, which, as you probably noticed earlier within this month when Bitcoin was around $45,000, that topside Toronto band was hovering just around $40,000. Now with Bitcoin about almost $10,000 higher than that at $54,000, you can see that it's actually risen up all the way to $42,500. So this will naturally start to test what is the open of this month, or basically the low of this month, at about $45,000. Naturally, if Bitcoin does essentially get up to maybe, you can just visualize maybe around $58,000 to $60,000. I've been saying the low 60,000s, but this is actually moving pretty damn aggressively. So I'd say I'd actually move that level down, probably $58,000 to $60,000, where you do see that happen. So that condition very likely does get satisfied. Problem is, for all the people waiting for those lower prices, myself included, well, looks like that's becoming less and less likely here. Anyways, more importantly, when we go into the daily, 2-day, and 3-day, what I do want to discuss is several other things, of which first we'll start off with the daily MACD. Daily MACD is having many things going on right here. First and foremost, going to have a bullish cross. That bullish cross is accompanied by more important things: getting back above the 20 simple, and more importantly, breaking the medium-term range high, which was that $52,000 tick, or just closing above this $51,000 level right here. Both of those things happened actually yesterday. Then that's going to be accompanied by momentum oscillators turning up as well. And on top of that, we even do have hidden bullish divergence in play here as well between this point and this point, putting in massively higher lows on price action with massively lower lows on oscillator. Good. That is also accompanied by the daily ADX DMI giving a DMI plus dominant signal, plus the ADX also strengthening as well. Let me show you what happened the last few times that we actually saw a very similar thing to this on the daily. Well, back around here in early February, precipitating this run from $39,000 to 58,000 high, or 58,000 fucking high. Jesus Christ, man. Time before that was right here. similar signature from the $19,000 high to basically 42,000 bucks right here. Not bad. Time before that was way the hell on over here at about 11,000 bucks, before moving all the way up to just under 20,000 bucks right here. So I do look at that as rather significant, and that's gonna have it's already confirmed, so it's there. 2-day has the same thing going on right here as well. DMI plus dominant. ADX just started turning back up as well after they reset, so quite literally a bullish reset alongside a reaccumulation signature right there. So I'll just pull a surprise. On top of that, we do have one of the things that a couple of our community members actually pointed out. I want to give credit to both Mr. Gravy Grits and Punklandia, the Bitcoin network price guy. I absolutely love both those guys. Punklandia especially, just because he's a fucking riot. But yes, they identified this signature between the bottom side Toronto band and the 55 exponential moving average. So I'm representing the 55 exponential moving average by the cyan moving average right here. The bottom side Toronto band, obviously this kind of like off forest greenish type color. And anytime that we've seen them both cross to the downside, meaning the exponential cross on the downside of the Toronto band and also cross back onto the upside, there's been very specific interactions with price action. Oh fuck, my meat's getting nice and warm. Oh man, I'm feeling meaty right now. All right, we got to get through this. Oh shit. Oh my god. it's waiting, baby. Anyways, anytime that we've seen the 55 cross to the downside of the bottom side Toronto band, we see price action at the very least test the bottom side Toronto band. Sometimes a little bit lower than that. Yes, you do see a few bits down here, but at the very least the bottom side Toronto band. And then more importantly, when you get the bullish cross with the 55 crossing above the bottom side Toronto band, that is your bullish signal for a continuation phase after a reaccumulation, as you see right here. Now, more importantly, I'd also accompany this with the 20-simple moving average that you do see on the Toronto bands right here, this brown skiddish skid marks colored moving average essentially. And when price action gets back above there, that is trend in motion, especially when the 20 simple has a positive slope as well. Same thing over here. You see it cross to the downside, boom, gets brought back down here, gets a bullish cross right here, off to the fucking races. Same thing over here. Gets the downside cross, tests it, boom, shoots through. But this ultimately does put into reaccumulation. This tells you essentially to buy it within that region, and then several instances, prior to that, which you can see for yourself. Anyways, Bitcoin's gonna basically have the bullish cross of that confirmed very likely tonight, if not already confirmed, I'd say. And that is, of course, accompanied by, more importantly, or I don't know if it's more importantly, but on a shorter term time frames right here, that's also accompanied by essentially a break or a potential break of the range. So I've been looking at this range in a couple different ways. First and foremost, if I'm using a lower term time frame like a 4 hour, we did get that move up to 55,000 bucks that we did speak about on this morning's video. We also are getting the pullback from that move as well. So I'm not necessarily looking for things to like just fucking green dildo to the heavens like this instant. To be very clear, when we're looking at daily, we're looking at daily price action. I know that there's going to be someone who's like, Krown, you said we're bullish and Bitcoin just went down 500 bucks. It's like, okay, yeah, get off the fucking 5 minute. It's not even gonna register on a daily, But more importantly right here, we need to differentiate timeframes, right? So if we are using a 4 hour, I would be looking at 55,000 bucks as a closing continuation high, meaning that it would imply Bitcoin does test up to the next level, which is essentially your prior all-time high, anywhere around 57 to 58,000 bucks. So we're talking about $2,000 to $3,000 move, pretty damn good. Likely continuation implied on top of that, based off the other higher term time frame signals, which is why we look at all these fucking time frames. On top of that, we could also just use a daily here, and if we are using a daily, I would actually move that point down to the 2.272 because these fib extensions have been working very, very well within this region, and that would be about just above 54,000 bucks at 54,300, and that would also imply upside continuation for myself as well. Is there anything else that I want to speak about here? Yeah, several instances of hidden bullish divergence plus daily RSI getting back in the bullish control zone. Nice. 2-day is, what do you know, the same fucking thing, huh? Back above the exponential as well, and hidden bullish divergence about to be confirmed on tonight's closure, by the way. And then we have the 3-day, what do you know, the same fucking thing, huh? And by the way, as of today, well, not as of today, but as of yesterday, I think, early or later in the day, we are starting to put in a signature of hidden bullish divergence on the weekly as well. We did play at the bearish divergence already, coming all the way down to the 10 simple in a very aggressively bullish market. Now getting the hidden bullish divergence on the other end, plus momentum oscillators also pointing north. Now, yes, this is incredibly an aggressive read, so I don't know how much more this rally can go like immediately, but at least for the time being, I do look for this to continue onwards and upwards, over the next week or two. Likely to new all-time highs if I had to guess. And more importantly, when we go down to the shorter term timeframes, again, I do express a little bit of reservation in the short term timeframes here, but there is one big thing that is potentially rearing up its head right now, and that is the HVP on the short term timeframes. It looks like it wants to enter into a bit of an expansive posturing here, as we do see it comes down all the way into what was the single digits yesterday, now kind of sprucing back up. But I really want to see it break above this. That's going to likely come alongside an actual break of the range here, but at the same time, this is direction neutral, obviously. So it could be that on the short term timeframes, we actually do have a little bit of downside. And also, you know, I always want to kind of keep both options open, not because I'm a fair weather trader, and honestly, I look at that as a compliment. So someone kind of called me that in like a pejorative way, I don't know, like last week or something like that. And I'm like, actually, I think that's a pretty fucking good thing. Like, yeah, I want to be bullish when it's time to be bullish, and I want to be bearish when it's time to be bearish, obviously. Anyways, though, looking at this right here, I really want to switch around my opinion on the medium-term timeframes as long as Bitcoin is above the last sort of range high pivot, which was that 51,500-ish region, also the two-spot extension right here. So as long as it's above there, you know, any sort of short-term downside moves, even all the way down to like 52 or even 51,500-ish region, I look at it as inconsequential and not really changing any of the medium or especially higher term time frame analysis. But if we do start to crack below this region right here, especially on a 2-hour or 4-hour closure, that's the point when I would be looking for a bit of a fake out, probably another move back down to about 47 to 47.5 thousand bucks, maybe even another retest back down all to 45,000 bucks as well. But for right now, I mean, there's certainly a lot more good things than bad things going on. So while I do think that it's important to kind of do the, you know, the full on explanation, at the end of the day, I do want to be on record as saying I'm not necessarily looking for that to happen. Not that my opinion matters. I mean, at the end of the day, you've seen my opinion be wrong so many fucking times. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. The technical analysis is more or less neutral. It is as it is, and then I'm putting my stupid fucking opinion on it. So take that for what it is, or maybe just don't take it at all, which is what I do, to be honest with you. And you know, and ultimately the ranges here still rule the day. So looking at more or less on the, especially on the higher term timeframes and even the medium term timeframes, more or less good. Short term timeframes, could Bitcoin be due for a bit of a pullback? It really wouldn't be asking for too much to get this one back down to like 52 or 51.5 thousand bucks, but nothing really changes until we actually go back down below there. So for now, that should do it. What would the next upside targets be? I mean, we did talk about a move towards the next, towards the prior all-time high. Basically, if Bitcoin does take out this next level or just gets continuation in general, of course, there will be targets on top of that further up. And what I want to do now is I want to look at this essentially as a reaccumulation formation, which it seems to be shaping up as. So I've gone ahead and I've done something very, very bad here. I've essentially used the crystal ball in the future. Now, take this with a grain of salt, but technically speaking, anywhere around the 3.618 is where this would kind of work out as potential cup and handle, which I do think is kind of forming right here. Again, bad technical analysis. I want to be very, 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 very deliberately clear with that. We don't have that in place just yet. It looks like it probably does, to be fair, but technically speaking, your targets would be somewhere just under like 69,000 bucks to 68,500 bucks, with areas of interest along the way at 62,000 bucks and then 65. So with all that said, I do want, and again, that's not going to happen all in the same day. Like, it's probably going to happen over the course of a couple of weeks. Anyways, with that said, I want to wish you the best and the happiest. I'm going to go eat because my food is definitely ready. Take care, and until next time.